Hello! Thanks for stopping by StampsToDieFor.com. My name is Patsy Waggoner, and I'm excited to share with you today another technique how-to. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, let's get started with this week's Retiform Technique. You're going to choose a stamp set, and for this one I chose the Creative Elements stamp set. You can pick solid stamp set, outline stamp sets, it doesn't matter. And I also chose the 3 colors. You can use 3 or 4 or 2 depending on your preference. Most of the time I end up doing this technique in the fall and use more subdued fallish colors, but since I'm showing you it today and we've had such a long gloomy winter, I wanted bright colors. You're going to start with your quarter sheet of cardstock, and I'm using StazOn ink, and I'm going to stamp my focal image in the center. Now you might choose a different focal image. Whatever you're choosing is going to be your focal part of your card. Then you're going to take some Post-it notes, and you're going to run those along the side of your card like this. Got to get my glasses on so I can see where to line this up. And you're going to take your Post-it notes and you're going to line them up on each side of your image from top to bottom like this. And I'm going to start with my Daffodil Delight. And I have my sponge dauber, and I'm just going to lightly sponge on the edge of this paper going in towards our image like this. Now I say lightly because as you're doing this, the tendency is to want to stamp, you know, pretty dark, and when you take off the paper, especially because I'm doing yellow on yellow, but you can see how much darker that is than what you think it would be. Now you can sponge further in. This is a finer line, and that's really personal preference. Now you're going to take your Post-it note and you're just going to apply it right on that one you just met. And I try to, if you're and then I'm going to take my Tangerine Tango, and I'm going to just stamp in the other direction of that line. And again, you can make this as dark or as light as you want. That's just a personal preference. We're going to pull that grid off, and you can see how you've created. And I do put this just on the edge so I see a tiny bit of yellow. If you get it, you know, where it's not exactly on there, it'll blend. But if you put it over the line, then you'll end up with a white space between your 2 colors, and we don't want that. So we're going to just sponge again on the edge, creating and now we're going to take our Post-it notes and we're going to run them across this way. Now every time you do this, it's going to show up a little bit differently than before. Now we're taking our Tempting Turquoise, and we're just going to make a grid that way. Now you can go in and do it again this way, but I'm choosing just to do it in the outward area. Just because yesterday when I was playing this, I thought it was just a little too much. But now on the next card or the next design, you may want that. So then you would just, if you were going to, you would just flip this around and then sponge again towards the center. But there we have our grids. And so next what you're going to do is you're going to mark off this grid. I'm going to start with the middle ones because on these 4 I'm going to stamp the same images. Now I don't always stamp the same images. Sometimes, depending on the stamp set, I would stamp completely different images for that. But for this one I've got this kind of scrolly flower, and I'm going to ink that up and stamp that. See, and we've masked that off, so now we take that off and that's just left in the little grid. You get to watch me do a lot of not boring stamping, but more stamping than normal. Sometimes I do the cooking technique, but on this one I thought, well, for you to really get the whole idea, you kind of need to see the whole thing. So if you're good at figuring out things from a picture, you can just fast forward to the end and see the completed card. Oops. I have to think more when I'm doing this card because it seems like I get confused where I need to put my Post-its. I guess I'm a lucky person since my husband works at 3M. We get Post-its kind of like scrap paper. Our kids could play with them when they were little. Preferably, I like to have a Post-it that runs the full length of the card, but you know, I happen to be out of those today. So he's going to need to stop by the 3M store and pick up some more. So now I'm going to go down to this little corner grid, and in that one I'm going to stamp a little bit of the butterfly, and each card is always going to be a little bit different. I'm going to stamp this here like that. And then up in this corner, where's this little, I don't know if you call these filigrees or little border thing. I'm going to stamp that there. What I did is I just kind of stamped rows of it to give it kind of a wallpaper effect. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to stamp the butterfly again, and on that one I'm going to stamp the create. It might not all fit on there. Like I said, every card's going to end up a little different because of the sizes of boxes you end up having, and I'll show you that on the other card that I've already completed. So there, you have your Retiform. Now you could leave it just like this, but I'll show you on the card that I finished what I decided to do. On here, you can see how different they, you know, the squares are depending on how this one I had done it actually in reverse. And so every time you do it, you're going to do it a little differently. You might do it that way. But you can see here that I've colored in the flower, and then I stamped it 3 more times and cut it out and gave it some dimension to keep our focal point at that focus there. Stamped a little saying and put there, and added a little butterfly from our beautiful wings Embossalette. I love, you know, this is one I've used over and over. It's not new, but it's an oldie but a goodie, and you get all these 5 butterflies in all different sizes, and that's called Beautiful Wings Embossalette. Embossalette embosses and cuts. Sizzlette just cuts, so that's part of the big shot. So there you go, and there you have our Retiform technique for this week. Hope you enjoyed Technique How To. Be sure and stop by stampstodiefor.com and pick up your little booklet page. This week the page is all printed on one side, and you'll want to stamp the Retiform technique on the other side so you have your very own sample. Have a great week. Happy stamping.